Welcome to the Dalen Show. Hello, people. I am Dalen Flowers. If you're new and you don't know my voice or my face, welcome to the show. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. If you're listening on any of the platforms that the show is on, welcome as well. We are so glad to have you. And I just want to say real quick, a huge thank you and much love and appreciation to everyone that has supported the show as long as they have, or even just since the start of season 4, and even my guests up to this point, 5 weeks through episode number 6, right here for you guys. It has been incredible. I've just enjoyed every moment of it, and the feedback and the love and the honestly inspiration has been really meaningful for me, and I can't thank you guys enough to support my journey. And I also want to say really quick as well, I had a quick conversation with a local business owner here in Oxford, Mississippi, where I go to school, and I told him, it's called the Dalen Show, but it's not about me. And I want people to remember that it never has been about me. It isn't now, and it never will be. So I want you guys to continue enjoying the journey, the wisdom, advice, the laughter that we are getting from other people. So enough of me talking, and let's introduce our guest for this week, Mr. Joshua Bolden. Woohoo!
Well, thank you,
Of
Dalen.
course. I want to first ask you, I want to say thank you, because I know we have been on time constraints kind of trying to do this. So thank you. And first of all, how are you doing right now? How is life treating you right now? How's everything going in your realm?
I am fantastic because when we're filming this, I've made it to the end of the week, and anytime I make it to the end of the week, it is a great thing. Every day is a blessing, but it is a great thing to make it to the end of the week and just to be able to rest a little bit after what we all have. We all have busy weeks, so it's. I'm blessed to make it to the end of the week, and I'm happy to be here.
Amen to that. I have finished I would say like my first part of this spring semester. We got spring break now, so
Yeah.
I'm done and getting ready to go home soon. So I can completely understand that testimony right there, man. Mr. Bowden, if you don't mind, I love for my guests to give a quick bio or kind of like quick little infomercial about themselves, so the guests can kind of get comfortable with you. So you can just name maybe where you're from, where you at today, things you've been able to do to get you where you are today, and just a little bit of information about you really quick, so we can, the viewers and the listeners, can get a quick feel of who you are before we get into your life journey.
Okay, well, as you mentioned, I'm Joshua Bolden. I'm originally from the Mid-South. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. All my family, the bulk of my family, I should say, still resides there in Memphis, Tennessee. Even though I was born in Memphis and commuted to Memphis quite a lot, spent a lot of time there. I grew up in a small town called Atoka, which is about 45 minutes away from Memphis. It's in Tipton County. It borders Shelby County, which Memphis is in. So I'm a West Tennessee boy, born and raised, and proud to be it. I'm a journalist today. I've been a journalist for quite some time now. I work at WVVA TV in Bluefield, West Virginia. So I'm 9 hours away from the place that I was born. I am a reporter, producer, and anchor for WVVA TV. My day-to-day job, at least on paper, is morning anchor from 5 to 7, Monday through Friday on WVVA, and noon anchor Monday through Friday on WVVA. It's the NBC station here in Bluefield, West Virginia.
I first want to start your journey from the state of Tennessee. What was your childhood like growing up? What was your relationship with and I say this because family is something that is very important to me. What was your relationship with your parents and those immediate family members like for you? And how did they mold you into the person that you are today?
I wouldn't be the person I am today without God and without my family. I come from a very close knit family on both sides, both my dad and my mom's side, and they fostered into me, they poured into me. I saw growing up, like we did the whole soul food,
Yeah.
go over great grandma's house for
Yeah.
Sunday dinner type of thing. Holidays, we were always together. Uh, you know, church wouldn't just be with my mom and my siblings, but it would be with my aunts and my uncles and my cousins. So
Mhm.
I grew up with a very supportive family. I still have a very supportive family. Uh, who poured into me and told me that I could achieve my dreams. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be who I am today without them. Um, I'm an extremely uh, I don't know if I don't know if old soul is correct. If people
Mhm.
say you have an old soul, I have a mature soul. I have an old soul because my family poured the wisdom that they received from their family members into me,
Yeah.
and you know, I would not be the broadcast journalist I am today without my parents or my family. My grandmother was a teacher for 35 years. She taught at Memphis City Schools. She poured her love of learning into me, uh, the importance of speaking and being able to write clearly.
Yeah.
Uh, there was so much that was poured into me from her, from my parents, my mom and my dad. They both, when I said, "Hey, I just got a job, Bluefield, West Virginia. I have to find a place." My parents, immediately they said, "Okay, we'll do it. Let's pack up the bags. Let's pack up the car. Let's get in the U-Haul. Let's come up here." And you know, 8 years later, here I am, still in Bluefield, West Virginia, working really hard, continuing to grow, continuing to learn. But I couldn't have done it without them. They are responsible for who I am today and who I'll always be.
I love that because I am natured as an old soul, and many of my friends and family members will tell people that. And I love that you brought up your grandmother because that reminded me of mine. Reminds me of mine too. She
Mhm.
was a teacher for a long time, and I didn't learn a lot of things in the school system. Like I learned how to write in cursive from my grandmother. I
Yeah.
learned how to write checks from my grandmother, and so I completely love that testimony from you about that relationship with her. And I say this because I think that kind of relationship with family members kind of helps engrave you to be a better adult once we get to that point.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you what life challenges and maybe even just bumps in the road have you faced, and maybe advice from parents, grandparents, other family members? What have those been, and maybe what advice that you got from them maybe help you along in those journeys?
Um, Honestly, how I navigate everyday life. Uh, their voices consistently, even though I don't have to pick up the phone and call my grandmother. I don't have to pick up the phone and call my mom or dad. Like just in day-to-day life, I hear their voice.
Yeah.
You know, I know that there's been adversity, there's been struggle in my life, but the reason I'm always able to overcome it is because in the back of my mind, you know, my parents and my grandparent my grandmother would always say, you'll get through this. This too will pass. Just have faith in God. My faith is extremely important to me because I was raised in a household that was
Yeah.
faith filled, and
Yeah.
so a lot of times when I'm going through difficult times, I literally lean on my faith. I can do that,
Yeah.
um, and not just because of how I was raised, but uh, just experiencing it in day-to-day life. When you open up your eyes and you look around you and you see the beauty of the world, or you see how far you've come, just the fact, graduating high school is a feat, graduating college is a feat, getting a job in the career field that you want uh, is a feat. And you know I, I don't think that I would be where I am today without God, without my faith.
Yeah.
And so, you know they also taught me how to just navigate the business world and to navigate um, just life. I treat everybody with the same respect that I would want to be given. It's important to be, if you have the ability to give to others, and if you know you they say you should never pour out of your you should never you should always make sure that your cup is full before you give to others. But if you have the ability to give to others, do so. Uh, Teaching is a service. Passing on things to the next generation, that's a service. I have several aunts who work in the medical field. That's a service. My my parents, they met each other at Federal Express or FedEx. You know, that's more of a business style of things, but that is still doing a service for others. So I was always watching how they interacted with other people and how they connected with other people and how the other people received them. And
Yeah.
uh, they received them that way because my parents were and they are extremely kind people. They're extremely giving people, and I feel like that's rooted in me as well. I hope I'm answering that question.
Yeah.
Okay, but that that's what they taught me. They taught me how to navigate the world. Uh, even though I'm in broadcast journalism, one of the things that I tend to do when I'm in any situation is I will sit back and I will assess the situation first. I will assess, the new space that I'm in. I I, I don't I don't. There's a saying that speak when you have something to say. I
Yeah.
don't speak unnecessarily. So I'm just very observant. I think I get that from my family. They just taught me how to navigate the world, and I'm forever blessed for that.
I love that response, and I'm very relatable to again a lot of things that you said. I want to ask you, you are where you are now because you have followed the path of becoming a journalist.
Yeah.
Where did that idea become a reality for you? When did you want to become a journalist? Was it a love from maybe a teacher, a class, a certain person in that career? At what age and what part of your life did that start? And what
Mhm.
steps did you feel like you had to take to get where you are today in order to reach it?
Okay. There were multiple. I look back on my life and I noticed that there were multiple moments where um, where it just sort of lines up. I
Mhm.
can't say I know the definitive moment that I wanted to be a broadcast journalist, but I loved creative writing as a child. I remember being in third, fourth grade when we would have downtime. I would write little short stories because I loved being able to create a world of imagination. I
Yeah.
loved being able to uh, write something that I could hand to other people and they would be able to read it and they would be inspired or they'd laugh or bring them joy. I always loved creative writing before I even knew what the term creative writing was.
Hmm.
Uh, my mom would always say that she would always say that I could talk before I could walk, which honestly, considering the career I'm in, my mom's probably right. She would always say that she would look at me because I would always be super attentive to grown
Hmm.
folks' conversations, and she would always say that I had satellites for ears because I was always paying attention to things and I was able to regurgitate them and reiterate them and be able to tell other people about it. So I look back at that, and that was at 4 or 5 years old. So that's what a reporter does. They learn information, they assess information,
Yeah.
and they tell other people about it. Reporters have to know how to write. They have to have a love for writing. They have to have a love for being creative. Um, and also, I just grew up in a news household. Uh, in Memphis, we have 4 TV stations, and when I think back on my childhood, the news was always on, and not just one particular station. Like all 4 stations would
Yeah.
be on, and so just by osmosis, even if I was playing or doing something else, the news was on in the background. I'm hearing it, and I'm hearing all these stories told multiple different ways. The way that I'm going to hear it on the CBS station is not the way I'm going to hear it on the NBC station. And it was just always there. And then I remember around 9 or 10 years old, um, that's when I started getting in trouble for staying up past my bedtime to watch the news. Like my mom, like my bedtime was before 9 o'clock, but I would turn the TV down really, really low and I would turn it on. And my mom would peer in and she would say, turn that TV off. You don't need to be watching the news at 9 o'clock. You need to be in bed. But I always had in the station I would always watch Fox 13, WHBQ at 9 o'clock. And it was Claudia Barr and Steve Dawson who were anchoring. And there was a moment where I was watching Claudia, and I don't remember what story she was telling. I just remember watching, and a light bulb went off that said I could do that. Um, and it already, it sort of, it was already in me. Like,
Yeah.
I love creative writing. I love listening to people. I love observing people. And so that's the moment that it clicked. And I'm sure that there's certainly other layers to it, but those are just little nuggets uh, that sort of led me to it. So it wasn't just like one thing. It's just part of my character.
I want to ask you because, and my love for this has a lot of surroundment around Memphis. What is some of your musical love and taste? Some of your favorite artists, some of your favorite songs, and maybe as well, were there things that parents, grandparents, family members play at a young age, so that like now it's kind of installed at you in you that you know that artist, you know that song by heart? Is there anything like that either?
Um, my musical taste, it ranges.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it ranges just because of how I grew up.
Yeah.
Obviously, Memphis it's a city, it's an urban city. So you're gonna and it's blues all day, every day. So uh, I do have uh,
Mm-hmm.
that R&B love. Going to school every morning, my dad would turn on the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and my dad and my mom, they're in their 60s. So I grew up on 60s, 70s, 80s music going to school.
Yeah.
One of my dad's favorite groups is the OJs.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite group, mind you, I was born in the 90s. My favorite group is Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Okay.
And there's just something about them that is timeless. Um, but I listen to everything. I listen to Reba McEntire. I'll listen to Dolly Parton. I mean, you name it. I have an appreciation for every genre because I
Mm-hmm.
know that what that artist is doing um, took work. They're
Yeah.
pouring their heart out. They're pouring their soul out, and music is music. I my first foray into broadcasting, University of Memphis, when I started going there, they had a jazz station,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where that's where my broadcasting started. WUMR, U92. I listen to jazz. I love jazz, and I realized that I grew up listening to jazz. Now that I look back on it, when you're at the mall, when you were at Macy's or Dillard's or wherever, in the background,
Yeah.
jazz. Uh, Grew up watching PBS. Grew up watching Mr. Rogers. In the background, jazz. I
Mm-hmm.
realized that it's always been around me, but I love jazz. I love Latin jazz and big band jazz in particular.
Okay.
But Earth, Wind, and Fire is my favorite group of all time. The first rap song that I remember uh, learning or verse, Left Eye, Left Eye's verse
Okay.
from Waterfalls. Uh, and so it literally runs the gambit. I have an appreciation for
Yeah.
all styles.
I love that. And those are things that are like specifically unique that I have never heard before. And so I love that you're able to attract different things to that. You mentioned something that I wanted to ask you, so I love that you brought it up. What was your process in choosing to attend the University of Memphis? What were some of the other schools that maybe you were looking at as well? But what attracted you to Memphis to hold you for 4 years?
It was the It was the affordable option.
Mhm.
It was the affordable option. It was the one that did have a journalism program
Mhm.
uh, that I could, learn to be a broadcast journalist in. Um, and my parents, they did not want me to work in college.
Yeah.
They didn't want me to. They when it came to education and when it came to me learning, obviously before coming an adult and having to get out into the real world for all their children, you're not working. That was it. You're not working. You are getting your education. You're focusing on your grades, and in order for me to do that, University of Memphis was the affordable option. So
Yeah.
that's how that happened. But I am so grateful that I went to the University of Memphis because they have a fantastic department of journalism. And, I had fantastic mentors and fantastic advisors. I genuinely would not be here today if I would not be sitting here in Bluefield, West Virginia, if it was not for the University of Memphis, because how I ended up in Bluefield, West Virginia, is because of the University of Memphis. So, and by that, I mean I was a teacher's aide
Mhm.
for uh, for a journalism class, and one of the students was a sports broadcaster. He ended up coming here to Bluefield, West Virginia, to be a sports broadcaster, and he posted about it on Facebook. And I said, well, let me see if they have any just regular reporter, general assignment reporter openings. They did. I applied. Next thing you know, I'm getting in the car and driving 9 hours to Bluefield, West Virginia. So I literally would not be here if it was not for the University of Memphis.
Yeah. I love that. Can I ask what was your transition from high school to college like? And as well, was college, and I say this because I'm in the midst of it now,
Mhm.
did those 4 years fly by or did it feel really slow? And if either one to both, what was your journey in the midst of those 4 years at Memphis like for you?
Um, Looking back on it, yes, it flew by. It didn't feel like it was flying by in the moment because I was present and in the moment. And that's what I say to anybody. Always be present and in the moment because time is fleeting.
Yeah.
Um, and I will say this: um, I technically I was there for 4 years, and then I graduated, but then I went back.
Mhm.
So I got my journalism degree. I graduated with my journalism degree in 2013. Um, but I wanted to double major.
Yeah.
And when I graduated in 2013, I thought I had the double major. Turns out I didn't.
Mhm.
And I had time to go back
Yeah.
and get those last couple of classes so I could get my second degree in Spanish. Um, but the transition was really easy because I commuted to campus every day. Like I
Mhm.
said, I was 45 minutes from Memphis. So I didn't have to do the traditional things that most
Yeah.
college students who live on campus do. But my transition was really easy because I knew what I wanted to do. I declared my major. I declared my major freshman year, and it did not deviate. It did not change
Yeah.
any of that. I knew what I wanted to do, um, and so I just jumped right in, and I looked for avenues and looked for ways that I could learn everything that I needed to learn in order to get to the point where I am today. Because there were certain things uh, there were certain benchmarks that you had to meet before you could even step into an internship at the University of Memphis.
Mhm.
So there were things that I had to do beforehand that uh, that to just satisfy my urge for wanting to get into journalism from the jump,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does. Um, could you give a piece of advice, and this is for me as well, but
Mhm.
for young journalists, and whether that's them in college right now, just graduating college, in high school, even maybe younger before that, could you give us a piece of advice on what steps maybe we should be taking in these moments right now that will help us be more comfortable and prepared once we get into the real world of journalism?
let me tell you that the industry has changed so much that it
Hmm.
is very different from even when I graduated and when I started my job here in Bluefield, West Virginia. But the best piece of advice I got that I've ever received, and it's still stuck with me today. Um, Marcus Matthews, he was the he was over the Teen Appeal, which was a, a citywide high school newspaper that was produced at the University of Memphis, but it was sent out citywide.
Hmm.
He was also he was, and I still consider him today one of my mentors. I don't feel like you ever lose a mentor.
Yeah.
Um, and he's the author of probably several books now, but when I first met him, he was the author of I Am Not the Father. It's an autobiographical book. But the best piece of advice he gave me, and I want to say I was 18 or 19 years old, he said, think like a journalist now. You are a journalist now. You are not a student journalist. You are a journalist. So you are already doing it, quite frankly. The
Yeah.
fact that you have this show and that you want to talk to people who are in the industry and you want to, uh, you know, relay that to other people out there who are interested in this industry, you're doing it now. The best piece of advice is be what you want to be now. And so that goes for any career. If you want to be a doctor, think like a doctor now. You want to be a lawyer, think like a lawyer now. You want to be a journalist, think like a journalist now. Whatever facet of the journalism industry you want to go into, think like that now. So I certainly did that when I was in college. Uh, now, uh, again, it has changed so much, the industry, um, and it's continuing to change. But when I started, my advisor set me down and she said to me, she's like, you're not going to make a lot of money going into this. I was like, I know that. It's okay. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this for the love of of meeting people, telling their stories, and sharing it with a wider audience.
Yeah.
Um, she she laid it out for me. She's like, you're going to have to go far, far away from your family, more than likely, for the first job, unless you live in a area with a small market station. Memphis is not a small market. Memphis is market 50. Bluefield it consistently goes between like 165 to somewhere between 160 to 165. Um, but I was like, I'm okay with that. I've told my family that I was going to have to move far away. Um, and so that reality was already set in at 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
So now I was like, I just want to go ahead and start doing the things that I need to do to become the best journalist that I can be. So uh, I wrote for any paper that I could potentially write for because you needed to know how to write news style,
Yeah.
which is completely different than what you would do for a college paper or a high school paper. It's different than what you would do online. It's different than what you would do on TV. So I wrote for the Torch. I wrote for the Daily Helmsman. I also ended up writing for the Tri-State Defender, which is a paper that is circulated through around the Mid South. Um, I did a lot of that in the beginning just get that to get that journalism brain started, or
Yeah.
not necessarily started, but put it into action. Because the
Yeah.
only way you can get good at something is by consistently doing it.
Yeah.
Um, so that was the start of the journalism career. I started with print stuff, and then um, when I asked my advisor, who's also my mentor, Dr. Lorene Kelly, about doing an internship, I want to say it was at the tail end of my freshman year or the beginning of my sophomore year. She said, we don't want to send you into a newsroom without you knowing everything that a TV newsroom requires, which actually, in hindsight, makes sense. Uh, when I was asking about it, I didn't completely understand it, and you know she wanted to make sure that you knew how to write, how to shoot, how to edit, what the TV terms are, because TV terms are different than what you would how you would speak in everyday life. She wanted me to know what a package is. A package is the TV term for story. She wanted me to know what a VOSOT was. VOSOT stands for voiceover, the anchor's voice, and soundbite. Soundbite that I got from out in the field. A VOSOT's basically a mini story, but not a full-blown package. She wanted me to know all of that before I stepped into a newsroom. And so, but at the time, I didn't completely grasp all of that.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, since I can't do the internship now, I can still try to do other things. So the journalism department would let you rent out cameras, and I rented a camera, and I said, "Can I start a talk show? And can I affiliate it with NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists?" She's like, "Yeah, absolutely, let's do that." And so I started a talk show called The Conversation, and ever so often we would release episodes, and NABJ would support it. I eventually became an officer in NABJ, so that made it sort of easy to, relay that information or relay those shows out to the general public. But, if you can't get to where you want, if you can't get to the internship right away, that doesn't mean you can't do something. Ask yourself, what can I do now that will help me get to the next goal? So I produced The Conversation for 4 years, but also eventually I learned those skills that I needed to learn to get to my internship. And the internship was the most beneficial thing ever, because I was only required to go 2 days a week. I went anywhere between 4 to 5 days a week because I wanted to be around a real newsroom. I want to be around reporters that were doing what I wanted to do full time. And eventually I went up so often that instead of me following a reporter and just seeing how they do things, they would start sending me out to go turn content for the newscast.
Yeah.
They would let me write scripts for the anchors, and there was nothing like hearing the evening anchors that I grew up watching since I was knee high to a grasshopper, reading my words. Like, that was surreal. And I did intern at WHBQ, which is the Fox affiliate, the station that I was watching when the light bulb went on. So I just say, do what you can in the moment to get to your goal. And don't look down on anything that is in relation to your field, because before I interned at Fox 13, they did let me work at the volunteer. They let me volunteer at the radio station WUMR. That was a chance for me to practice my voice, to hone my voice. So there were a bunch of little steps that lead to that big step. And you don't want to. I come from the perspective of, you don't want to necessarily skip the little steps, because those little steps add up. And I will say this: if it wasn't for WUMR, I wouldn't have ended up anchoring I wouldn't have ended up anchoring at 19 years old. My first time anchoring a newscast, it was a radio newscast, was WVVP. And the reason I got that job is because a radio host at WUMR was asking around. It's like, "Hey, this station needs a weekend news anchor. Would you like to do it?" I'm like, absolutely. It gives me the chance to hone my voice. So I took any and every opportunity that I felt could help me get to my end goal, that would help me in my end goal. And I know that I've kind of hopped around a little bit, but they're all really important elements that add up to where I am today. Uh, I mean, I'm grateful for it all.
Hmm.
I'm truly grateful for it all. I hope that answers your question. I feel like I went on a long tangent. I know the timeline may seem a little, a little wacky or a little wonky just because I've hopped around a little bit, but pretty much uh, just to try to clear up the timeline a little bit. Graduated high school, um, got to the University of Memphis. I wrote for several papers. Then I went to, and I was still writing for the papers, for those papers when I started working with volunteering with WUMR. WUMR led to WBBP, and and then from WBBP, I eventually did intern because I had amassed all those skill sets beforehand.
Yeah.
So my internship took place in my final year of college, the first go around, 2013, because that's when they would allow you to take that internship, your final year, your capstone year. So I hope I'm making sense. I know that I'm kind of jumping around a bit, but
Good.
there's I'm going back at this point. I'm going back 11 plus years. So uh, it it's been a journey, but it's been worth it.
Yeah.
Um, and and I'm just grateful. So I hope that answers your question. I'm going to stop rambling,
You're
and I'm going to let you ask your next question.
You're good. I appreciate it. I mean, that means a lot because I say this sometimes, and sometimes people get it, sometimes they don't. That is what I do this for, and I don't want you to feel like you're talking too long or you're rambling because that is the point of this for you to share your journey, your wisdom, and whatever advice that you maybe have not gotten to share before, maybe you have, but just not in the way that you wanted to right there. So I thank you for saying that. You brought up some things that, and this may be just my opinion, but I want to say and maybe ask as well.
Yeah.
uh Even radio, and writing as well, and this is a personal testimony. Kind of, I feel like reading has just not become a focal point, I would say, in my generation of people. um how important have those things been for you in getting to you where you are in your career? And when I say that, I mean you being able to host and anchor a radio show at a young age, your educational background from your family, with
Mhm.
writing and reading. How important were those things to kind of allow you to be more comfortable once you got in front of that microphone at the radio for the first time, or maybe when you got introduced to writing, and it was helping you be more beneficial for others to see your work so you can get a job, like you where you are today? So how beneficial were some of those, I would say, old school things, because they're
Mhm.
not as, and again, this is just my opinion, they're not just as much of a bargain, I would say, in today's world as they were 10, 15 years ago.
Those things are everything.
Hmm.
And if you want to be a journalist, if you want to be a broadcaster in general, you need to know how to do those. Like
Yeah.
that's a non-negotiable. Uh, you need to be reading the newspaper or reading online as often as you can. If you want to go into broadcasting, stand up, read those articles, look at yourself in the mirror, film yourself, see how you are projecting, because when you get behind the mic, there is there that's showtime, and uh you've got to be able to be on your A game. And the only way you're going to get on your A game is to know the English language backwards and forward, know how to write multiple styles, and and be able to speak in a way that the viewers are able to connect with you. um,
Mm.
And the only way you get that is by ensuring that you have the reading, the writing,
Yeah.
and all of that down. And if you really want to get into this, I'm not saying you have to go, read these long, uh, read these big books or read things that are boring. No, read things that interest you.
Yeah.
If you have something that interests you, if it's entertainment stuff, if it's flipping through Star Magazine or Us Weekly or People magazine or something like that, you still need to do that because I'm still learning. I'm still learning new words to this day, and I'm
Mhm.
able to use it when I'm in that live space. It helps me articulate myself.
Yeah.
Um, and being articulate and being able to get your message across in a way that is compassionate and understanding and in a way that connects with people, that's paramount. You can't do this job without it. So I would say, please make sure that you're doing that. Well, that goes for print media, that goes for digital media, that goes for radio, that goes for TV. It's like it's all necessary.
Yeah.
Uh, I do a 2 hour, 2.5 hours of live television every single day. And all those words are not scripted. So I need to, and some of the words that are scripted are incorrect. And so I need to know how to fix it on the
Yeah.
fly, you know. So it's paramount, you know.
Um, what are some of your hobbies outside of your TV career? What do you do outside of your job that keeps you calm, keeps you who you are, and keeps you calm and keeps your mind attained to where you are in that moment?
You know, I'm that is people ask me that question, and I'm still discovering new hobbies, but
Mhm.
for me, this has always been a hobby. So it's almost really hard to separate myself from it at times
Yeah.
because you know I started doing this at a very young age. This is what I've always been passionate about. But in my downtime, if I'm just trying to break away from news, I mean, I will just go to the park and sit in solitude and just you know listen to the birds, listen to the people. I will go to a restaurant, I will just go for a drive just to kind of to separate myself for a little bit. But that I'm in the career that I want to be
Yeah.
in, and so my career hobby and career have kind of morphed in a way. But I do know that it's important to take those breaks from it because you don't want to get burned out. You don't want any of that. So um, you know I do try to take those moments of solitude, whether it's, like I said, going for a walk, going to the park, going for a drive, something like that. Um, but finding hobbies outside of news, eventually, I'm sure I will find one that I'm passionate about. But right now, I just when I have to get away from news, it's just going into solitude.
What, and if any, but what other works before your time now in West Virginia were you able to be a part of and accomplish that allowed you to get to where you are today?
Um, One thing that I'm really grateful for, other, that helped me get here was I also um, WHBQ was not my only internship.
Mhm.
I I also interned in New York City. I
Yeah.
interned in Harlem. Uh, I got a I got a job. I got an internship there. It was a summer internship when I went back to college. So when I went back to college to finish up the few classes in Spanish so
Yeah.
I could get that degree. But since I was a student, I was also eligible um, to apply for this internship in New York, where I ended up going to still do journalism, but that took me out of my comfort zone.
Mhm.
And that was the second time that I was taken out of my comfort zone. Um, and by comfort zone, meaning being around my family.
Yeah.
Like I said, I do come from a very close knit family.
Mhm.
Um, but I also knew that I had to learn how to be self-sufficient. And so there were two ways that I learned how to be self-sufficient and learned how to be on my own. Um, and so one was in 2015 when I went to New York for the summer, and the other was in, I think it was 2013. I studied abroad in Germany for a
Wow.
month.
Yeah.
So traveling outside of
Yeah.
my bubble, which I
Mm.
recommend everybody do at some point, whether you want to pursue journalism or not. Getting outside of your bubble makes you realize how big this world is and how small you are,
Yeah.
and how much in common we all have with each other. Um, so I would say all of that got helped me get to where I am today. Um, and just studying the craft. That's literally what I've done my entire life. Even before I got to the University of Memphis, I was studying the craft. Maybe not in a formal way. I wasn't reading books about the craft, but I was consistently watching the craft. Um, and not just local anchors. It's like I was watching anytime there was a Barbara Walters or a Diane Sawyer special.
Mm-hmm.
That was appointment television. We sat down and we watched that. My mom made sure that we were, because everybody everybody Oprah Winfrey was appointment television, had to be home at 4 o'clock to watch that. So all of that stuff, I was studying them. I study broadcasters. I study radio. I study TV still. I still study radio broadcasters. I love radio. I think radio is a beautiful art form. And it all helped me get to where I am. But also connecting with others within the industry, and and learning from them has helped me get to where I am. I hope I'm answering that question
Yeah, you are.
to the best. I'm answering it to the best of my ability, but I hope that it's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Um, but that's those are the other things other than just going to the University of Memphis that I feel helped me get to where I am.
Yeah. You answered it 100%, and I asked that to build on to this. Uh, how has West Virginia treated you? What was the transition fully to where you are now like for you as well? And I'll leave it at that right now, and I'll probably add on to it at
Yeah.
some point though.
The transition to West Virginia was really easy for me.
Hmm.
And the reason I say that is because I was I was doing what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
and I am doing what I want to do. Um, and because I said I grew up in a small town called Atoka in Tipton County. It Atoka in Tipton County itself is more rural than
Hmm.
Memphis, and so when I came to West Virginia, and West Virginia is known for being wild and wonderful, that is their tagline. Um, it was not that hard of an adjustment for me, and also it may not to maybe to mid southerners it may not seem like the South, because I mean, technically it is it is above where we grew up, but it's still the South. There's still very much um, the things I grew up with in the mid South, the ideas and the way of life, the slow pace. It's still that way. It's that way in West Virginia, and the people here in Bluefield, West Virginia, and in Bluefield, Virginia, because Bluefield, West Virginia actually borders Bluefield, Virginia. It borders Virginia. Um, they are the kindest people. When I got here, and I was going out into these communities and reporting on them daily and trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B, a lot of times, most times, instead of just giving me the directions, they would say, just follow me. Like, they would actually get in their car and drive me to where I needed to go.
Yeah.
They would give you the shirt off their back. They're the best, and I'm so grateful for my viewers here. I'm so grateful that I started in a small market. Uh, Never look down on a small market either, because that's how when I got into this, that's how that was the trajectory. You had to start out in a small market, then you'd go from a small market to a medium-sized market, and if you were good enough, then you'd make it from a medium-sized market to a top market, if that was your goal. Sometimes people's goal is just to go back home. Um, but I have loved working here because I've had the chance to learn how to report, and by learning how to report, I learned how to Eventually, they gave me a shot to learn how to anchor and produce an anchor. But none of that would have happened if I didn't know how to. None of that would have happened if it wasn't for the community pouring into me, and picking up their phone at 6 or 7 o'clock at night and calling me or texting me and saying, "Hey, this is going on." Reaching out to me, helping me with story ideas, helping me get acclimated to the area, helping me understand. It is why the viewers are why I have been here for 8 years. The viewers are why I get up every single morning. And I know that might sound hokey, but it's the truth. It's a service. It's what we mentioned at the start of this conversation is I want to be of service to others. I want to give back to others. Journalism, at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's not about the person presenting the news. It's about being a community servant and relaying pertinent information to however many people are watching.
Yeah.
Uplifting them, bringing them joy, and informing them. That's what it's about. And so I'm so grateful for them because they basically they feel, again, this might sound cheesy, but they feel like family. They are family. They gave me a big hug when I came up here. Basically, they wrapped themselves around me, and I'm forever grateful for it. The churches in the area wrapped themselves around me. They said, "Oh, there's a new guy here at WVVA. We need to introduce ourselves to him." Uh, I feel like I'm around. I feel like I'm around family. It's additional family. West Virginia and Virginia gave me additional family, and I'm forever grateful for it. Um, whether it sounds cheesy or not, I'm forever grateful.
I love that. And I have a point that I want to come back to with that, but I want to ask something that I had planned on asking, but I had forgotten until now. When you graduated from college, did you have any immediate goals? Did you have any immediate plan that a
Yeah.
place or area that you wanted to be? And if so, where was that? What was that idea for you at that time?
When I graduated from college, the goal was just to get a job,
Mm-hmm.
and um, what you learn very quickly, and I guess um, this kind of just shows how passionate I am for it. Because obviously, I graduated in 2013, and I didn't start at WVVA until 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a 3 year gap there. I was applying to places, but um, I was either not hearing back or we'd be in the middle of the interview process and they'd say they went with an internal candidate or they didn't have room in the budget to hire me.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, yeah, I got a lot of no's and, but I knew I had faith because this is what I've wanted to do since I was a child. I had faith that it was going to happen for me, not on my time. It was going to happen on God's time, and so I was just persistent. I was consistently sending out emails. I was consistently updating my reel, which is what you need
Mm-hmm.
uh, to get a job in TV news, um, and I was trying my best to keep those skills fresh. So even though there was a 3 year gap there, I was still putting myself out there.
Yeah.
One of my friends, who I graduated with, she said it best, and she's a morning news anchor in Louisville, Kentucky now. But the job doesn't. You don't. It's not just you wanting the job. The job has to want you. You have to fit what they're looking for. That's just that's the truth. If they're looking to, you know, if they if they've lost a female reporter or a female anchor, maybe they're looking for another female reporter or female anchor. They lost a male anchor, maybe, or a male reporter, they're looking for another male reporter or male anchor. You have to fit the bill,
Yeah.
uh, essentially. At least that was sort of the mindset in that time when I had graduated. And to a degree, I still think that's true today. you have to fit what they're looking for. So it's not because you don't have the skill. It's not because you don't have the talent. It's just that was not the job that was meant for you. But the job that is meant for you, it will come. Just
Yeah.
keep putting in the work. And so, like I said, that gap between 2013 and 16, I was still uh, I was still working at WUMR, even though I had graduated from University of Memphis. It's a volunteer station. They would let anybody come in and do a show. So, I volunteered at WUMR. I was still working at WBBP. I was still doing those things um, that would keep my skills fresh. And also in that period, um, I was working for V2 Media, which is a production company in West Tennessee, um, and that way I could still get behind a camera and still shoot and still edit and do all of that. So I was still doing the things that were going to lead me here.
Yeah.
And that's that gap.
Mm. If you could jump back to where you are right now,
Yeah.
if you could give us like a breakdown of maybe your weekly schedule, or maybe just a Monday or Tuesday. Like, what time do you wake up?
Gotcha.
What time are you in the studio? What time are you working on edits? What time are you finding
Yeah.
stories? Things like that. What time are you off? What are you doing in your off time? Can you give us like a day to day of your schedule?
Well, that's an easy question to answer because that's present day. But every day will still be different,
Mm-hmm.
even when you're in the field. When you're in the field of journalism, um, on paper, my day starts at 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's when I'm supposed to start, and it's supposed to end at 1 p.m. Um, but there are days where here at WVVA, it's a small market, and so all of the shows except for the evening shows, the morning anchor, the noon anchor, and the weekend anchor, we all produce our own shows, so we have to put it together.
Okay.
So um, Monday through Friday, on a regular day, I would come in at 4 a.m. I'd anchor that show till 7 a.m. From about 7 a.m. to about 7:45, 8 a.m. We are taping cut-ins, which air in between the Today Show, and then I'll go on my break somewhere between 8 and 8:30, and that's an hour break, and then I come back, and then I start gathering things for my show, uh, for the noon show
Yeah.
again, because the person that anchors it has to produce it. So that's a typical day on paper, but just like with any station, things pop up.
Yeah.
So if the if my co-anchor calls out, my co-anchor comes in at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning to put the show together. Um, if she calls out, or if I'm filling in, that means I've got to, instead of me waking up at 3:30 to get there at 4 a.m., that means I have to get up at uh, I have to get up at 1, or I guess it would be 12:30, 1 in the morning, in order to get there to produce the show. Um, so I'll do her shift on top of my own shift. But there are also days where, I can come in at 4, and somebody on the evening shift may call out, and they need somebody to fill in there. That actually happened 3 or 4 weeks ago, where my day started at 4. My day did not end until my day didn't end to 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. So so every day is different. No 2 days are the same. But that's what makes it fun. I didn't want a job where I was going to be in a cubicle all day. I didn't want a job where I was going to be in a building all day. I love getting out, telling stories, and helping others. So that's what motivates me every day.
You can. I'm sorry. I feel like I have to say I'm sorry to ask this, but
Oh, No.
And that's only just because of your response of where and how much you love where you currently are. But do you want to be anywhere else in your career?
The goal is to always grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually at some point, I know that that will happen.
Yeah.
Um, but again, it's on God's time, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I want I this I love learning. I love growing, and so if the opportunity arises where that is a fit for me, and that feels right in the spirit, um, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
I look forward to growing. Um, I look forward to not. I look forward to the idea of being able to tell the stories not just of West Virginia and Virginia, but you know, beyond that, people all across the world. That excites me. So if I ever have that opportunity to, impact both the people that I've already met and more people, I'm 100% for it. Um, so is Bluefield, West Virginia, the end goal? I wouldn't say that. I would I wouldn't say it's the end goal. It's part of the goal. Part of the goal to impact as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And so, um, wherever God wherever God says I need to be, that's where I will go because He's the one that has gotten me here.
Yeah.
God, my family, and my education, and everybody that makes up who I am today. I I am an amount. A I'm a sum of parts. I'm my family. I'm my friends. I'm the people of West Virginia and Virginia. I'm the people of Tennessee. I have learned so much from so many, and I want to be able to impact, and I want to be able to give back to as many people as possible. So it is a goal, but something tells me in my spirit that it's not necessarily the final goal. There's always going to be more.
Yeah.
So that's part of just being alive. There's always going to be more.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask one of the kind of final questions that I love to ask is, and I've honestly kind of switched it up, and I go to five now, but I'll stick to five. If you could have
Okay.
dinner with five people dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Um, Barbara Walters,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean Barbara, Oprah Winfrey, Lucille Ball,
Okay.
um, because um, Lucille Ball impacted me too. Um, the reason I wanted to learn Spanish is because I'd watch I Love Lucy as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and Ricky would, whenever he would get mad, he would start speaking Spanish, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
there's another language other than English. There's more. There are more words out there. There's more culture. It's like, and so I was just so enamored and impressed,
Yeah.
and with 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 that opened up my world to know that there's more out there. And so, uh, and also, if you ever look into the history of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, but Lucille Ball in particular, she, was the head of a TV studio at the time when a lot of women were not the head of TV studios. She was the decision maker. She was signing the checks. She was signing the contracts. And so she's just always been super impressive to me. Um, so, um, so Barbara Walters, Oprah Winfrey, Lucille Ball, um, Diane Carroll, because and for folks who may not know who Diane Carroll is, Whitley's mom in A Different World. I
Okay.
just love how she carried herself. She also was a pioneer in media because she was the first one to uh, she was the first Black woman to star in a sitcom in a non stereotypical role, and just the way that she carried herself. not just in that show, but just through life, in actual life. Watching her conduct interviews is just beautiful. Um,
Yeah.
and and Elizabeth Montgomery. If you don't know who Elizabeth Montgomery is, if you've ever seen the TV show Bewitched, uh,
Mm-hmm.
she was the star of the TV show Bewitched, and I loved Bewitched growing up because I loved seeing how I loved the special effects.
Yeah.
I loved the magic of how they made things happen,
Yeah.
made things appear out of thin air. Like I wanted to know, how does that work? How does that happen? So everything sort of ties back to media for me. Um, so yeah, Oprah Winfrey, Barbara Walters, Lucille Ball, Diane Carroll, and Elizabeth Montgomery. If I if there was if I had to substitute anybody out, if you said that there was too many media people in there and I had to substitute, um, Dr. Maya Angelou, because she can just speak to your soul.
Yeah.
Um, and one of my favorite things that she's ever said, um, and it was in one of Oprah's TV shows. She said, and I might be paraphrasing here, but she said, "Words are things. You must be careful with the words you use." And you know, that just sort of touched me because obviously she's a poet and an author, and
Mm-hmm.
she's just full of wisdom, and obviously I love words. so so those are who I would love to sit with and pick their brain, um, just because they impacted my life. Like there's just a lot of little moments that led up to this big moment of
Yeah.
me being who I am today. And so, yeah, I think that's it. There probably I could definitely add more people, but I'm not going to do it. I kind of push the limits there with that question. So,
Good. I love it, and I say this quite often though, but I always say that answer to that question kind of exemplifies who you are as a person. And so I feel like those people revolve around your passions, your love, your energy. And so I love to hear that
yeah,
because they're different answers that I've ever heard before, and I've learned more about different people that I've never heard from those answers too. And so I appreciate you for saying that.
yeah,
Um, One of the things that I love to ask before I kind of wrap things up, and it's like two questions in
yeah.
one. And you've kind of talked about a lot of one of them, and which is what advice would you give to people watching and listening? And it doesn't have to be about journalism or writing or anything, but what's just one piece of life advice that you would give to people? And my second question is, I'm very big on legacy. Legacy.
Yeah.
What legacy do you want to leave behind? When people hear the name Joshua Bolden, what do you always want people to remember about who you were as a person?
Okay, so the first question, the biggest piece of advice, and this is not just for journalism. This is literally for every facet of life. If you have a goal, whether whatever it is, think like you already have it,
Yeah,
and take the steps to get it, but think like you already have it. And also just be present in the moment. Don't try to rush through things. Don't try to rush through life. This is a gift. This is a big gift that you are blessed to have, and just be grateful for every moment. Like I d- you know I know that I'm not at my end goal yet,
hmm,
but I'm so grateful to be where I am. I am blessed to be where I am, and I'm going to enjoy every moment because I know that time is fleeting.
yeah,
And so that's my advice. Think like you already have it and be present. My legacy, I hope that I'm a person of service. So I hope that I when you meet me, when you interact with me, that I have helped you in some way, that I've informed you, and even if I haven't informed you, even if I just put a smile on your face, and you think of me, and you think of joy, and you think of laughter, and you think of fun, then that is my legacy. I want to be somebody that has left some. I want to leave people better than I found them. They might already be great, but if I could add to that, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
so that is my legacy. I want my legacy to be giving back to others and spreading joy. I know that might sound cheesy, but that genuinely just is who I am as a person.
Thank you for sharing that. Those are very fulfilling words of encouragement, advice, and wisdom. And it's something that's very important to me because my mom used to always tell me growing up, like because when I grew up with my mom, she was born on a farm, was surrounded by the family, of course. So when I would go down on summer break or like Christmas break to the farm, she'd be like, everyone knows each other around town, so you act dumb, go back to the family, and
Yeah,
even
they're
when
gonna
I'm
call.
yeah. So even when I'm, regular, she, around home, she'd be like, watch what you put on social media, because at the same time, you're always representing you and you're always representing this family. And so that legacy thing is very important to me, and it always
Yeah,
has been. Just making sure we're doing what we love to do in a
yeah,
positive manner, going about in the right way. So, and I could just really tell from just speaking with you for a little over an hour that you have so much passion for what you do, so much love for what you do, and it's not just a fake character trait. And
no,
I
no.
love that, and it's authentic, and it's you. And I know but for anyone that's new and hasn't been around, and this is their first episode, I interviewed Kayla Thompson last week, and she was incredible, and probably one of my more joyful interviews I've ever done. And I love that character trait of just being you at all times, and
Yeah,
that you can be joyful at all times. You could be uh, whatever your character trait is at all times. And I love that you said that, because being you is something that I exemplify a lot and talk about a lot. So thank you for sharing that so
yeah.
much.
You don't want to have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
That sounds to me, that sounds stressful. The
Yeah.
idea of having to put up put up a front. That's just too much stress. And I
Yeah.
don't want to live life stressed. That's not life is supposed to be about joy. And that's how I walk through life. And just being authentic.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely correct. And I I know that we're wrapping up here, but I just want to say thank you for having me, and thank you for what you are doing, because whether you realize it or not, you are impacting the next generation, the people coming up under you. There are high schoolers, there are middle schoolers who are watching you right now and are saying, I want to be just like Dalen. You are impacting people, and you are, I know you want this, because the fact that you're in season 4, that's huge. um, and you are talking with people and sharing their stories, and through that you're inspiring the next generation. So you've impacted people already. I hope you know that. You are a journalist, you are a broadcaster, whatever you want to be, you are it now. I'm proud of you. This was completely unexpected, because I genuinely, when I reached out and I was just giving you your props and your shout out, because I watched your interview with Kayla. uh, I just wanted to let you know that you're seen. Like, you're being seen, whether you realize it or not. You're being seen by people who are already in the field, and they respect what you do. I respect what you do, and so keep it up. You're going to go far. I'm already proud of you. Like, this is awesome. This is this is incredible. I I'm just in awe right now, because this you're impacting people. Keep it up. So thank you again.
I appreciate that a lot. I'm trying not to get emotional on camera. So
It's okay. Hey, that's genuine. If you get emotional, it's all good, because we just talked about being authentic. It's like,
yeah,
we are who we are. And again, you keep this up, because I
yeah,
can see that you're passionate about it.
thank you.
4 years, that is huge. and
Yeah.
to put it on the platforms that that you put it on, that's and to continue to gain the following. And I'm excited to see where you end up, because something tells me you're going to exceed your own expectations. And so I'm really impressed. I really am.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. I can't put into words how much that means to me because for many reasons, but again, I don't do this for me. This is my journey. This is my love. This is my passion. And that word means a lot to me because it means that I am fulfilling my journey and my love, and that is being able to share other people's story. And I just sometimes think that I hope I've been able to do that. So hearing you say that means a lot to me because at a young age, I always told myself God put me on earth to help people. So I am very appreciative when people tell me that I'm helping them or they are appreciative of me for allowing them to share their story or whatever it is. So that means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If you don't mind, really quick, Mr. Bolden, if you could share your social media for people watching and listening, if they want to follow you, reach out to you, anything at all.
Yes. So Facebook is Joshua Bolden TV. Bolden is spelled Bolden. You see it on the screen there, but I always just feel like I have to spell it out because sometimes people misspell it. And then all my social media handles are the same as well. For Instagram and X, Joshua Bolden, just Joshua Bolden. The only place is Joshua Bolden TV is on Facebook. But anything else, it should be Joshua Bolden. You can also head to joshuabolden.com. All my socials and everything are there as well. But thank you again. This has been unexpected, but this has been a joy. And I just hope you know that great things are ahead, and I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate that a lot, man. Any shout outs you want to give to anyone as well?
Well, I kind of feel like I've shouted them out during this chat here, but my God, obviously, I'm a person of
Amen.
faith, and He's gotten me through so much, and He's going to continue to get me through so much because that's just who He is. Um, my grandmother, Nell Bolden. I would not have the education. I wouldn't be who I am without you. My mom and dad, Tommy and Judy Bolden, and my brother and sister, Jacob and Ashley. I love y'all and my entire family and all my friends. Like, I am my friends, mentors, everybody. They are parts that make up me. And when I'm able to, give back to other people, I'm giving a piece of their spirit. I'm giving a piece of what they taught me to others. So thank you to everybody who's got me where I am today. And shout out to you, because the reason we're able to do this right now is because of you. So I know you don't want to make it about you. I know that's your goal, not to make it about yourself, but shout out to you because you are making an impact.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. It means the world because, again, for many different reasons, like I said, but it just means a lot that I'm actually fulfilling that childhood dream that I had a long time ago. So thank you for those words of giving me my flowers. I love. I was telling someone the other day I love giving people their flowers because this life thing is, unfortunately, we don't know when we're going to be gone, and I
Mhm.
don't want to give people their flowers only when they're gone, and I want to
Yeah.
be able to do that while they're here. So thank you so much for that.
Mm.
Thank you guys for listening and watching as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed this as much as I have. It has been a joy to be able to do this. 6 episodes already, guys. 6 episodes, 6 weeks have flown by. That is incredible. That is crazy. I hope you guys are enjoying this just as much as I am. I can't say thank you enough for your wisdom and your compassion to me and the people we have been able to host on season 4 so far. And stay tuned. We got some more fun stuff coming in store. One few quick things I want to say is don't forget to check the description, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening, for some extra show resources. We got some show merchandise that has officially came out not too long ago. So if you want to get some sweatshirts, shirts, make sure you're checking the descriptions of the YouTube videos or anything where you're listening. And also make sure you're checking out Locked On Ole Miss, where I also am there weekly on Mondays. So check us out there. My man Stephen Willis, he's been incredible to me. And if you're in Oxford, check out Shadrack's Coffee, man. Met with their owner yesterday, and they have been fantastic. And if you see me on social media, you guys know who they are a little bit more, but I make sure I'm talking about them some more in the videos too, so we'll get some more of that going as well. But shout out to Shadrack's. They've been amazing to me, and their owner Brad has been phenomenal to me as well. So shout out to them, and thank you again, Mr. Bolden. I am glad I got to reach out, and we kind of got to mend our times a little bit. I know we're both kind of going crazy with our schedules, so I'm glad I was able to reach out. We were able to figure this out.
And I hope you have a great spring break, by the way. Enjoy it. Take some time off.
I'm going to get some well-needed sleep is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I wish you many blessings and love on your journey now, in the near future, in the long future, wherever you go. I wish you so many blessings and prayers on it to be everything that you want it to be and then some. So we got your back. We're going to support you at all times.
Well, I receive it. Thank you again. And I think we're both going to get some sleep now, because I know we've had some long days. But thank you, everybody that's watched, and have a blessed day and a blessed weekend, y'all.
Of course. God bless everyone. Take care. Keep enjoying life. Thank you as always.